Well, today we're talking about type A personalities. If you're driven, you're competitive, you're goal oriented, then you're part of the club that probably struggles during difficult markets. And I know when things get tough, your instinct as a type A personality is to work harder, push more, try to fix things. But in investing, you might actually be going against what you should be doing. We'll talk about that coming up. Welcome into Perfect Game Retirement. I'm Ben George with Ryan Ledden, certified financial planner, also the founder of Black Oak Asset Management. And I guess, Ryan, you're probably a type A personality, right? I think you're someone that pushes pretty hard and is always working to fix any issues that might be out there. Pretty competitive too.
Yeah, sometimes to a fault. Just ask my wife; she'd tell you. But yeah, I am red through and through on the. Which one is that? Which one personality? There's red, green, blue.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm free. I've done so many personality tests, but I am red as red can be.
Yeah, type A personalities, for those that aren't too familiar, they're known for being ambitious, organized, competitive, sometimes impatient. They like to be in control and solve problems quickly, and that's a great personality to have. But in investing, it might kind of go against the grain. I think that's an interesting discussion that we're going to kind of get into today because we're kind of in the middle of this market that's been bouncing up and down, Ryan. And I think a lot of times you do look at this and just go, man, I just got to be doing something right now to fix what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I mean, me being that type of personality, but I guess in some regards, because of what I do, and I've been in this long enough to see markets kind of going through craziness and not being too analytical, knowing like, hey, this too shall pass. We don't know how long it'll take to pass. I mean, as we're recording this, I mean, yeah, the market's still kind of going crazy, and we had a pretty recent uptick because of just news headlines and whether it's tariff data or inflation data or unemployment data. I mean, it's constantly going to ebb and flow depending on what comes out in the media. But yeah, having a type A personality, sometimes you want to do too much, and I know who my clients are that type A personality, so that's where I have to be a teacher and an educator and a coach all together at the same time, and take off my financial advisor analytical hat and have to put on that coaching hat for some people.
Yeah. Are you more proactive with people like that are the type A personalities when we kind of get into these markets that maybe have a day that drops quite a bit? Do you get more proactive with them versus other people?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I know them well enough to know that, so I'll send messaging out to our entire client base when these things happen, but I know who's going to focus on it and read it or listen to it, and who's not. And that's okay. I want to send it out to everybody in case everybody wants to hear and listen. But yeah, I know the ones who are clicking on those videos and listening to them, and then scheduling a time just to have a conversation, just to put their mind at ease. But we want to be proactive with everybody, but especially my type A'ers.
Well, CNBC commentator Josh Brown, he developed a list of questions I want to kind of work through with you that he says, you should maybe consider during difficult markets. And maybe you can tell us why these would be very beneficial for type A personalities, and maybe how you help people find answers to these. And we got 5 questions to kind of work through here. Am I taking the right types of risk? How do I know that? So how do you first off identify the types of risks that you should be taking and understanding what's best for you?
Yeah, there's a whole slew of different risks. Obviously, the most well known is market risk, but obviously we're in changing interest rates and environment. So interest rate risk is another thing. So you want to know, this is where the analytical side comes into play. Obviously, with technology and software, that helps out, but it allows the client to see what their bandwidth or their guardrails or their standard deviation of what their portfolio is. So again, most of our decisions are based off of psychology, not necessarily rational behavior, but what are our emotions playing in? So emotions kind of go crazy, but then I have to be the analytical person a lot of times and say, hey, your portfolio is built for this, and we're still in that range. And a lot of times when you remind somebody of that, they just kind of go, oh, okay. So I'm like, yep, we're well within your range still of the downside, because there is a downside, obviously, and an upside. So we're still within that range. And most people just you kind of hear, oh, kind of that sigh of relief, like, yeah, I know it's down now, but your portfolio is down this versus what the market is actually down. So it's just it's constant education, and letting them know what their portfolio is doing, not what the entire stock market is doing.
Yeah, so risk is so important, the right types, but also the right amount, as you mentioned. And I think it's easy to kind of be I guess made have a reality check, I guess, in terms of the market swinging, how much you actually comfortable with. But another interesting question I think is, if the bear market ends tomorrow, will I be positioned to benefit? So how do you know if you're in a good spot should things bounce back immediately?
Yeah, and same thing. Going back to the technology piece of it, it can let you know, hey, if there's an uptick or a bounce back from a bear market to a bull market, here's what kind of runway that you do have versus kind of guessing at that. Like, oh, I've kind of moved things around. I got more conservative when the market was down. Now the market is moving up. Now I want to get back in. So a lot of times, stress testing people's portfolio when the market is down, like right now, and it's not down a ton. It's just volatile. It's really not down a ton. There are certain sectors that are down a good bit, especially when you look at individual stocks. But it's not down as much as maybe some people think, or what the media likes to think. I even saw a headline this morning talking about the psychology of it, and knowing, is it the end of a bear market into a bull market? And like the title itself had both sides of it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that is just such clickbait right now. It's the Bears and the Bulls are both clicking on that article, wondering what's going to happen. So, to test it, you can stress test a portfolio to see, okay, if we do have an uptick, if we do have a good runway, how much am I going to go up?
All right. And then the next question is interesting too. If the bear market continues all year, if we are an extended bear market, is this going to be a knockout punch for my portfolio? And this is something you have to really have a serious conversation and an honest conversation about kind of where you're positioned.
Yes, 100%, especially if people are within those 1 to 2 to 3 years of retirement. You don't want to have one of your legs chopped out from underneath you when you're about to go into retirement. So it's something, again, you have to continually stress test. I mean, these softwares are great, but it is software. So we still have to talk people through these things and say, okay, you are built for your portfolio. Again, going back to my previous point, it's built to go down this far. Now, technically, could it go to zero? Yeah, you could lose every penny. Obviously, we're in a much, much worse situation if the stock market goes to zero. So, how much money you have does not matter. It is survival mode at that point. But so that's why I tell people, yeah, could it go down to zero? Yeah, I got to tell you that it could go down to zero, but I don't think it will. I think we're going to be okay. Is there going to be corrections? Sure. We have to live through them. We have to be able to stress test it. But then that's where, as an advisor, we tell them, hey, when we do have a bear market, we're going to be pulling from different funds. So that's why you want diversification. I know that word's an easy word to throw out. But as far as investments go, you do want diversification, because when the market's bad, you don't want to be pulling your income out of market-based investments. You may have to pull some out, but you don't want to take the brunt of your monthly income off market-based investments. So you want to be more conservative, more fixed income, more, money market mutual funds now are paying a decent amount because interest rates are so high. And then vice versa, when the market goes up, then okay, let's sell some of your market-based investments that are doing well, and that creates an income. So it's constantly ebbs and flows. So just being a very static of, oh, we're just going to pull from this account first, and then we're going to move to this one. You can't do that. It's constantly changing.
All right. Last question that this CNBC commentator put out there is, has anyone been looking at what I'm doing, and am I talking to the right people? And again, that kind of goes back to having, someone on your team that can kind of help guide you, as you're pointing out, you do with your clients. Do this, because if you haven't had someone look at what you're doing recently, now is probably the time.
Yeah, I mean, very rarely do we meet with people that aren't working with an advisor. They're probably working with someone. I mean, occasionally we get some people that have never worked with an advisor before, and that's okay. But a lot of times we do get people that are working with an advisor, and we go through the process of maybe a meeting or two, and we won't just give out free information, but we can look at what somebody's doing, and if we're like, yeah, you're fine, you're doing what you have to be doing, and this advisor is doing a good job. I've done that before. I'm not trying to drive a wedge. If they already have a relationship, they're just maybe not sure what they're doing. If it's right or wrong, we can usually look at what people are doing and go, yeah, you're fine. There may be some analysis that needs to be done, but for the most part, we can usually tell. So we can almost be like that sounding board for someone if that's what they want to use us for, or have a conversation with us about. But then if there's a hole in their plan, it's pretty easy for us to diagnose it because we've seen so many. So that's where, okay, it may be an easier conversation to have, saying, yeah, you need to change some things, and that may be where a further discussion has, or maybe we get a client from someone else. But very rarely do we meet with someone who's never worked with an advisor before. So, but yeah, we can look at what people are doing, and usually pretty early on tell they're on the right path or not.
Well, again, it all goes back to, hey, when the market's maybe not doing as well as you'd hope, that sometimes the smartest move is not doing as much, right? And a lot of times, it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. You've heard that before, I'm sure, but it is so true in this, and especially if you're a type A personality. So if you want to learn more about Black Oak Asset Management, go to speakwithryan.com. You can schedule a time to sit down with Ryan, have that first conversation, begin answering some questions, letting him get a feel for kind of where you stand, and begin helping you take that next step forward. I know that's so important. But we appreciate you watching this video, Ryan. Thanks for your insight as always, and looking forward to talking to you again. Please hit subscribe on the video if you haven't already. We'll talk to you again soon.